Welcome to Gaston Spotlight. I'm your host, Sherrod Dixon, and with me in the studio today are Aaron Brazel and Robin Perry from the Educational Studies Department here at Gaston College. They're here to share insights into our strong early childhood education and teacher preparation programs, the certificates and degrees students can pursue, and the many pathways that lead to many meaningful careers working with children in Gaston and Lincoln counties. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
So can we start by giving us an overview of the Educational Studies program at Gaston College and what kind of makes it unique?
Sure. I think that our program is comprised, like they said in the introduction, of the early childhood education and the teacher preparation programs. So those fall under the umbrella of the Educational Studies program at Gaston College. So we offer courses and fieldwork that help prepare students for working with a variety of ages in the classroom, and as well as other settings, starting with infancy through K-12 if they go on to that path in the teacher prep programs. I think what makes us unique is that we're a small program. We have a lot of experience teaching and supporting students. We have a lot of connections in the community, and we have a real focus on inclusion of children with exceptionalities. So that's not just one course that our students take, but we focus on it in all of our classes. We embed that content. So, because our students in the real life are going to interact with children who have a variety of needs, whether or not they're diagnosed, and we prepare them for that.
Oh, wow, that sounds awesome. Yeah. So what kind of certificates or degrees does the program offer?
Depending on whether students want to invest 1 year or 2 years, and if they're part-time students, multiple years in their education, we offer 2 different teacher prep degree pathways. One is Associate of the Arts, and one is Associates in General Ed. We offer I take that back. We offer 3 different associate degree pathways in early childhood education. One of them is Career Ready. You can get an associate in Career Ready if you're thinking after Gaston College, I'll be done. It's complete and I will go right to work. And then we offer two other associate degree pathways, which are the transfer and then transfer with licensure. Those students go in knowing I want to complete my education at Gaston and then move on, transfer to a 4-year, and then pursue the counterpart to early childhood education at the 4-year level, which is birth to kindergarten. So folks that want to invest 2 years or more can follow either or any of those pathways. We also offer certificates in early childhood education. We offer a preschool certificate, an administrative certificate, an infant toddler certificate, and a special needs certificate, depending on the specialty area, depending on on the age group or the clientele that you want to be working with one day.
Wow, that sounds very, very in-depth. Now, what kind of hands-on programs does the program offer? Does it also have any hands-on experience?
We absolutely embed fieldwork into several of our classes. There's 2 specific ones in the early childhood pathway that include having them go in and spend quite a bit, 120 hours in a classroom kind of setting, working with children. The first level is more of an observation thing with journals and things where they observe veteran teachers doing things and then write about it and reflect on it. And then the 284 practicum class, which is usually the last class they take with us, in that one they complete those kinds of hours in there, but they are implementing and doing things themselves with the kids, where they are really working with kids on a regular basis, and it gives them a feel for what you really do, because you can't learn how to be a teacher except by we do teach the basics behind it, but you also have to really be doing it and working with live kids in the class.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we embed other observations and other field work into some of our other classes as well.
Mm-hmm. Man, that sounds like a very, very strong program, just like all the programs here at Gaston College.
Facts.
So can you kind of, if I'm a student that's thinking about entering the program, can you kind of walk us through the teacher preparation program?
Well, as you know, anybody that's entering Gaston College would go through the enrollment process. After you do all that it takes to enroll, and it's a free application process. There's no fees involved, but certainly there is an application, there is a process. At some point, they would talk to you about your preferences, the goodness of fit for all of the programs that we offer here. And if you declare teacher prep specifically is the question, you would be put into that program and be given a specific advisor. It tends to be true that Jenny Lopez Salvador is the advisor for all of our EDU students, including teacher prep. And she sits with students virtually or in person or any way that she can accomplish that, and sets out to work with them to devise a program of studies that's going to meet their needs. 2 years if they're full-time.
Okay.
You know how that might go. It might be 4 years if they're part-time. It might be a little bit longer. We've had students in the teacher prep that have taken a couple years to finish that associate degree. In the early childhood education program, we have students that have taken a good bit longer to finish that degree. There's several differences between the populations of teacher prep students and early childhood education students. One of the main differences would be that the majority of early childhood education students are employed full-time as they pursue their education. I wouldn't say that about the teacher prep students. I would say that the majority of those folks would likely be full-time students pursuing their education primarily.
Okay, and that was kind of my next question. You know, once you have completed the program, how does the program help students prepare for employment?
Well, so we, in a variety of ways. If you're talking about teacher prep, they need to go on and complete their program, you know, their 4-year, or our transfer program. And we have at Gaston the Transfer Advising Center. So I just literally sent 2 students this information yesterday about the Transfer Advising Center that can help them with that process, that walks them through. And if once they set up an appointment and talk about, well, I'm you know, majoring in this, I'm looking at these schools, I'm thinking, you know, this is what I want to pursue, help me. And they give them the contacts and all the information they need and all that. We have people who do that. We also have, I sent them information about NC Promise. That's a program that we share with our students. It's an amazing thing it caps the tuition at universities to $500 a semester.
Okay.
So we try and at least not steer them toward those 4 schools. There's 4 that are currently participating in this program, but we certainly make them aware of it, if and when, and of course for most of us, finance is a situation, so it's good to know about this program. And then for employment purposes, in that field work we talked about before, where we place students and we work with the school systems and local child care centers depending on what their preferences are, like Ms. Brazel mentioned. And then when they do those field work hours, it's very common for our students to then become hired and become full-time employed at there, because if they've done a good job with their student teaching at there, they can, you know, then they'll say, we'd love to hire you. When you finish getting that degree, come see us. And then we have students who then I go visit the next year, and they are now a full-time teacher there.
Wow.
So that's we're able to help them with employment in many ways through that, because they get their feet wet, the systems and schools get to know them, and they get to show off their skills and abilities, and they get to trust each other, you know, and then they hire them.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So it sounds like the transition to the 4-year program is very, very seamless. What kind of programs or what kind of partnerships do you have here locally with some of the, local organizations?
Strong ones.
The early childhood education program has an advisory board, and that's a board. It consists of a lot of local agencies and organizations that have a stake in our program and in the success of our students and our graduates. Some of the people that serve on our board include the administrators from local Head Start agencies. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Head Start, but
Okay.
it's the largest federal preschool. And so, that person serves on our board. Gaston County School Preschool Coordinator, Lincoln County School Preschool Coordinator, several faith-based programs. Child care centers in North Carolina can be licensed and operated as GS 110s, which is a standard that exists. We're just going to say that exists. Sometimes faith-based programs agree to go through the voluntary star-rated licensure program, which is a different standard. I would dare say higher standards of quality have to be attained in order to go through that system. And so we have advisory board members that are 5-star child care centers out in the community. I'm trying to think of all the people that serve on our board right now.
Well,
Family
the head of
child care
NC,
operators.
the head of Gaston Pre-K, you know, what's her title? Emily said, I'm naming her name out, sorry. But we have people in Lincoln and Gaston County who are over all of the pre-K, the public pre-K, the NC pre-K program as well. And I don't know if you mentioned
they help advise us programmatically, and in turn, we have a good relationship with them. To your question, in the springtime, Robin and I plan a graduate reception, and we invite all of our graduates and their families. We also invite our advisory board members so that, you know, this group of people can meet this group of people, and if there are employment needs, this group of student type people can meet this group of employer type people. And so we help those relationships to begin to grow.
Awesome. So I know that you guys sound like you're very, very involved with the students, and you seem like you're very, very into the program. Can you pick out one success story? I know you got a bunch, but if there was just one that just kind of stands out, and share that with us for the viewers.
Just one.
Just
like
one.
We both should go. Oh, let's talk about Monica.
Yeah. Well, we have one, Monica Scherer, who was our graduate years ago and who continued on. She transferred, then she did early childhood ed, then she transferred on. She continued on and got her master's degree. She has come back and done been a guest speaker at that pinning ceremony that Ms. Brazel just talked about. She was Teacher of the Year in Gaston County a few years ago. She's now moving on and you know, in an administrative position, working toward doctorate, and she's a dean of students at a school. So she would, and she's just a fantastic human. So she would be definitely an example of one of our success stories. I feel like we have so many though, because we who was this past year's one? Shayna
Bailey. We plan a reception every year for our graduates in early childhood education specifically. I mean no harm by this. I know that Gaston College puts on a wonderful event for graduation every year. But as I mentioned, early childhood education majors tend to be full-time workers somewhere. I dare say, I don't want to make this political, but we're essential workers. And if child care teachers don't go to work, America can't go to work. You know, this morning there was a 2-hour delay in Gaston County schools. That meant families couldn't go to work because their children couldn't catch that bus and couldn't go to school. I say that because there are some of our students who cannot attend graduation because it tends to be scheduled on a Friday morning, and that would be money out of their pocket. And so one of the success stories that we highlighted at our reception last spring was a young lady that works in preschool in Charlotte, and she has gone on from early childhood education at the associate degree level at Gaston College, and she has earned a bachelor's degree in child development and family studies, and she is now serving at a preschool over there.
Charlotte Jewish Preschool.
Charlotte Jewish Preschool. The name escaped my tongue. Thank you, Ms. Perry. And so she also was invited back to speak to the graduates and to inspire them and to motivate them to be the best they could be, to provide high quality care and education for kids in these 2 counties. I think it really does matter whether or not there's excellence in your child care program, and I think that extends all the way up through kindergarten through 12th grade, you know, programming. I believe research shows, I would point out, Sherrard, that if you have high quality early childhood education, even before you get to big kids school, it'll help you to be successful once you get there. And so one of our success stories is still working in the early childhood setting, and she brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to those kids every day. And I just love her dearly. I think that sometimes some of our folks shine in the classroom and they bring a wealth of knowledge to children, to young children in classroom settings, and that's wonderful. I think of that as a success story. But to Robin's point and to her story about Monica, sometimes our students are also moving up the totem pole into administrative and management positions, and I smile upon that as well. I think sometimes it is true you can make an even deeper impact if you're further up the food chain.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and you can just tell from your passion and your voice, you can, and that's probably going to convey across to the viewers. So, to a viewer that's watching and is inspired by your stories or by Shayna's stories, what advice would you give them if they wanted to enter the early childhood education program?
I believe it's a calling, that teaching is a calling, and that you have it or you don't. So, but that it's important to find out what's a good fit for you. That's why we put them in different places. So I guess one of our piece of advice would be to, spend time in different classrooms to see whether or not it really is the right thing for you, because teaching is the most important and hardest job on earth, teaching kids, and you need to have the knowledge, but also the personality that fits. You have to have patience and kindness and love and all these things that are so important for young children and children of all ages, students of all ages. So finding out for sure if it's for you. And it's just, I always tell my students, because some of them realize, oh, the third grade is not for me. I don't want to work with kids. And I'm like, that's just as important to know what's not for you. So finding out what's right for you and exploring different options is one piece of advice. Do you have any others?
I will say that my son is a beginning teacher right now, and I talk to him every day. She does. I talked to him this morning. One of the things that he struggles with is the content area that he finds himself teaching. And so I think that you just talked about that a little bit. Make sure that your age group is a goodness of fit issue, that this is the niche. I really like kindergartners, or I don't. I really like third graders, or I don't. And then the type of program or the subject area to our teacher prep students or would-be students. If you don't like math, well, maybe think about language arts. If you don't like public schools, maybe think about faith-based schools or charter schools.
There's so many different opportunities.
Wonderful. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Robin and Aaron, thank you so much for joining us and for highlighting all the incredible opportunities available through the Educational Studies programs here at Gaston College. If you'd like to see more of what we do here in the broadcasting program, you can follow us on Instagram at Gaston Broadcast. I'm your host, Sherrod Dixon, and this has been Gaston Spotlight.